I don't know how to greet you because I don't know what time of the day you're looking at me. So I will assume that you're looking in the evening, and I'll say to you, good evening. But to those who are starting to look in at night or in the morning, I just say to you, good day, have a good day. And I'm delighted to see you again and have a discussion with you about my past, about my life during the Holocaust, the days of the Shoah. And we started last week to really go into the heavy times that started with the occupation of my hometown, and it kept on getting worse and worse every month. So last time we finished talking about the death of my mother, my baby infant brother, and another 1,000 people in my town of Jettel. This period, this date in infamy is called the first slaughter of the community. And right after the slaughter, we had to come back to our homes in the ghetto, and we had to move because there was a decree that the ghetto must be made smaller since so many people were killed, and those who lived in a special area of the ghetto had to move into new locations. Our house, my uncle's house, was outside of the new boundaries of the ghetto. We had to move. So we moved in the afternoon. We came in from the slaughter to the house, and we had to find a place. Fortunately, we had a friend, my uncle and my aunt, they had a friend who lived on the street called Lisagurskaya Ulica, Lisagurskaya Strasse, street. And this street was right down the road, actually, on the street which we lived already, except that we had to go up a little bit of a hill. It was maybe a 10 minutes walk from our house in the ghetto. So we spent the whole day after we came back from the slaughter, moving. Whatever we could, everybody was engaged, carrying something. And I also carried something that helped. And I must tell you, it was a very unreal, surreal situation. Here we come from the graves of the destruction of so many people of our town. Many of us lost somebody. And in my case, my mother, my brother, my 2 sisters and I were left now 3 little orphans in the custody of my aunt and uncle, who took us in and saved their lives, actually. And here we were supposed to get involved in moving, in carrying things from house to house, and not even having a chance to sit down, to cry, to mourn, to express one's emotions. The fact of the matter is, when I think about myself, I had no emotions. I was kind of like a robot moving along with like a leaf driven by the wind. I moved along, I did what I had to do, but somehow I didn't cry because I had no one to cry to, maybe. That makes a difference. Same thing with my 2 sisters, my older one and my younger one. My younger sister was about 5, 6 years old. She was literally a child. So we moved into the new house. Into this house moved our family. We consisted now of 3 orphans, my aunt and uncle and the son, together 6 people. My sister, my aunt had also her sister with her. Her name was Liebe, and her husband's name was Zadel, and they had a baby child. The baby child was maybe 7, 6 months old, a little girl. And they moved with us, so we now had a unit of 8 adults, including myself as an adult because I took up space, and the infant. In addition to this, we also had 4 people from the house, the owner of the house. He and his wife, and I remember two children, 2 girls, and there were other people. Unfortunately, I do not remember who they were, but there were more people in the house, at least 4 more people. Because you have to remember, we moved from one house in the ghetto to another house in the ghetto. That house in the ghetto was already occupied by people who lived there. So this house was now reinforced with the influx of another 8 people, children and adults. And there we began to adjust to each other and try to engage in daily pursuits of whatever came. Our life was very uncertain. Everybody was in a daze, and everybody was asking the question, what comes next? The next day they had to go, the adults had to go to work. They continued to work like as it was before the slaughter took place on the 30th of April. And my aunt and uncle left every morning, and so did the other adults of the house. They went outside of the ghetto to work. Some of them worked in factories. My uncle worked in a sawmill, and I think his brother-in-law worked there too. I don't know what the other people worked, but they were gone for the day. In the house remained. We, the children, remained in the house, and our job was to prepare the meals for the evening for the adults when they came back. My job was to peel the potatoes. My cousin, who was older than I, he was in charge of cooking. Frankly speaking, I don't know what my older sister did. I suppose she was also part of the cooking crew. And so we went from day in to day out, day in, day out. And everybody was trying to see what was going on, because obviously there's may come another day when there will be another slaughter. So in the meantime, people began to make plans, think, how do we save ourselves? In the previous house in the ghetto, we tried to make a wall, a double wall on the attic. But that was not sufficient, it was not good enough, and in fact we couldn't go in on the day of the slaughter, so we didn't utilize it. In the new house, we were getting to think how to find some kind of a way in order to build some kind of a shelter where we could escape and save ourselves, at least for the duration of the time of the onslaught, and then survive this and then see what was going to happen afterwards. In the meantime, as children, I heard the rumors, people were talking that some young people from the ghetto left the ghetto and escaped from the ghetto and went to the partisans. I heard talk of rumors, people were saying, well, we never thought it would happen in our town because our town were such good people. We expected it to have happen somewhere else because the people there, they were not such nice people. They had a bad reputation, but not in our beautiful town of Zetel. The fact of the matter is, it happened in Zetel too. And when we were led to be slaughtered, the people stood and looked upon us as if we were kind of a public demonstration or public display of entertainment. And so this was going on from, how shall I say it, from day to day. We also had stories about the Judenrat, the Jewish community in town, were also running away, or some of them tried to run away into the forest, and some remained. There was some turbulence going on, but nevertheless, we managed to cope from day to day. In the meantime, we also tried to make plans, as I suggested before, to do something to prepare ourselves, to save ourselves. And so my uncle and the other people in the house came up with a scheme of building a shelter in the ground, like a bunker in the underground. And I thought I'll leave this part for next week when we're discussing these things, because it's a traumatic part of the transition of our lives. First of all, the building of the shelter, the survival in the shelter, the escape from the shelter. This I will share with you next time. At this moment, I just want to take some time in order to acknowledge people who are working with me or helping me produce this program. First of all, I want to thank my friend Alper Elevi, who has actually encouraged me and made it possible for me to talk to you. And I want to thank Mohammed Mekhliev, who is the director, the producer. He works and does all that has to be done to produce the program. And I appreciate very much. We lovingly call him Momo. And we do call him Momo not only because we love him, but because it's easier to say Momo. And so we are here, so I want to thank them. Albert just informed us that we already have about 5,000 people who are viewing our program all over the world. And although we appear officially on YouTube, the fact is that we are reached also through other links and other, so to speak, various channels and venues of communication. So we're very proud of the fact that with Momo and with Albert cooperating, we were able to reach out to almost 5,000 people in such a relatively, in fact, not relatively, in a very short time. And for this, I'm grateful to both of them. I also hope that if you have questions, you will write in your questions. We'll take your questions, and in one of the sessions, try to answer your questions as they come. I would like to also mention to you that we live in a time of unparalleled events in the history of the Jewish people. I'm taping this program on the 26th of January, a day before the liberation, the anniversary of the liberation of the ghetto of the concentration camp Auschwitz 75 years ago. It's a time when something unusually happened. About 50 heads of states, kings and queens and prime ministers and presidents and all kinds of important people gathered in Jerusalem to join the people in commemorating this dreadful event, which led actually after the liberation of Auschwitz 75 years ago in a relatively short time to the total liberation of Europe from Nazi oppression and death. So this is an interesting development, and at the same time, unfortunately, we have the emergence of a recrudescent upsurge of anti-Semitism, especially in the United States, in every city in the United States, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, everywhere you read almost every day, there are outbursts of anti-Semitism. In Europe, there are outbursts of anti-Semitism. And the anti-Semitism is not only limited to the right extremists, the left extremists. Somehow, at one point, as they say, the extremes meet, and the right and the left get together at one point, and the point is called anti-Semitism. This somehow does not stop, in spite of the fact that on the one hand, there's an emergence of awareness of what happened and an identification with the suffering of the Jewish people. And on the other hand, anti-Semitism is displayed almost everywhere. And it's a question merely of how much. Cemeteries are desecrated, synagogues are attacked, people are attacked in the street, children are abused. Something is wrong. And the question has to be asked, where do we go from here? Commemorations are necessary and important, and they give us encouragement that we should lose our hope. There is goodness yet in the world, still in the world. But after all this is said and done, when the average person goes home and is afraid of letting his children go out in the streets, or go to school, or go to a synagogue, or a place of gathering, then somebody must ask the question, Quo vadis, where are we going from here? Is it enough to do what we've been doing up to now? Or should we change our approach and a cooperation with one another? And that is a question which all of us have to address in one way or another. My personal idea is to reach out to the average people, the common people of the street. In the long run, from my experience, it was these people, the simple farmer, the simple widow, the simple widower, the simple peasant, the simple worker, who helped his neighbors, the Jewish people who were being persecuted and put to death, more than all the politicians and all the political organizations and movements. Because when they fought, they always fought to address their own agenda. And the saving of the Jews took place, so to speak, as an afterthought, or maybe as a byproduct. But very few of them, if any, address the issue of trying to save Jews per se. So today too, I want to reach out to you, we who are identified as average people. Let us get together, let us respond, let us address this awesome issue, and together see what we can do to overcome this savage phenomenon of anti-Semitism, and together build for our children a better world, a better present here in Germany, in Europe, all over the world. With God's help, we can achieve it. God bless you. Till next time.